Hi, everybody, and welcome again to our beautiful weekly mind stilling ritual, which I'm happy to present to you because I am so passionate about spreading love and spreading the calmness that we have available if we choose to nurture it, if we choose to find it. And I do believe this is the solution for all of our woes. There are so many pressing issues in today's world. All of us know that. I don't watch news on the TV or any screen, but I read papers and I know what's going on. And it's nerve-wracking. And I want to tell you that I had a message last night in a dream. I pay attention to my dreams, do you? Oftentimes we get messages. Sometimes it's just sorting out all the rackaroo that we go through in the day. But sometimes we get really profound messages from our higher self, the part of us that's connected to the universal soul, which is what we're doing here with love, when we tap into love. So the message I got was to shine your light on any situation that causes discomfort. Shine your light, and that's how it disappears. So I thought that that would be a really good exploration for us today, because it seems like every week that I do these rituals, it's something different, because that's the kind of person I am. I like variety. I like interesting people. I like magnificently diverse subjects. And as many of you know, I'm a writer and an artist and a spiritual activist. So the reason I like to explore different ways of getting to that place of calm and still within, which is called love. Also, some people call that the sacred, the divine, and that name, God, good orderly direction, not a religious thing, a spiritual connection, a soul connection. That's what we're doing here today. So we'll just take a little moment to listen to the gong. As we prepare to shift gears. Which is what the stilling of the mind is. Shifting gears of our consciousness that all of us have available. We have choices. We can either remain in fear, confusion, anger, paranoid, whatever you call it. It's fear. A different mask that fear wears. The most common one is anger. Or we can choose to not buy into that, because that's a negative vibration. It's a very low vibration. It doesn't accomplish much. You can't paint paintings like this, one of mine, in a low vibration like that. You have to cultivate a high vibration. And that's what we're doing here. So we choose to go into the higher realm by focusing on our breath, or if you have some other technique you'd just like to jump right into. But for people who have not a favorite technique, following the breath is the most commonly used. So now we're going to put our mental focus on breath coming in through our nostrils and feeling the breath leave our nostrils. That's simple. It's that simple once you make the choice. Breathing in and breathing out. Even one or two breaths can shift your consciousness, just like that. Breathing in and breathing out. As you continue breathing this way, I'm listening to the rain fall outside. Can you hear it? In different parts of the country, we have snow, we have ice, but where I live, we're having a lot of rain. this is glorious, a wonderful sound. The replenishment of the earth, filling up of the reservoirs that get depleted. Just like within our own selves, we deplete ourselves by sending out so much protection because we live in a very confusing, very toxic situation in this modern day. And maybe it's been like that all throughout human civilization. But today, in 2021, we do have the pandemic, we do have social conflicts, we have horrible economic hardships, and it affects my family too. Everyone is affected. Everyone in the world is affected by what's happening today. So as we continue focusing on our breath, always going back to your breath, in between everything. No matter what's happening in the day, focus on the breath. It'll calm you. It'll still your mind. It'll occupy your wanting to be busy mind. It'll occupy it with following a breath. And why is breath so important? Well, we have to live, we have to breathe. But also, when we focus on our breath, we're going into a higher realm of consciousness because we're training our very curious, very obsessively compulsive mind, if we let it be, we're training it to follow the breath. And the breath is the bridge to higher realms of perception. So what does it mean to shine your light? If we think of our mind, which we all can relate to, we have a mind. I don't mean just the brain. The brain is the organ. The mind is the metaphysical concept that the brain manifests. If we think of our mind as a closet, and it's filled with innumerable things, like closets are, and some of them are nice, and some of them are not so nice, and some of them are filled with light, and others are dark and menacing. So let's talk about those fearful thoughts for a minute. People who are afraid to leave their houses because of the pandemic, even though 77% of the cases have gone down since the vaccination was available in early January. 77% already. And herd immunity is right around the corner, my friend. So get your vaccination if you haven't. But for people who have a lingering fear that it won't come out all right, let's just for a moment pretend that we're inside the closet of our mind. Or maybe you have a fear that you've gotten too fat, or that you've lost a boyfriend, or that you won't find a boyfriend, or that you've lost your best friend, or the car is going to be crunched between two tractor trailers, whatever. Those are all fears I've had in the past. There's so many different fears that come and plague the human mind, but they're all made up by our minds. They're not real. I hate to tell you this, they're not real. Yes, the pandemic is happening, but your fear that you're going to die or that the human race is going to be so adversely affected that we'll never get back on track is totally a man-made or woman-made or person-made false conception of the mind. So there we are, breathing, always, always focusing on our breath as we take these journeys. We're inside of our closet analogous mind, and there's something dark in there. It's in a corner, hidden behind an old shoe. It's a fear that we can barely put a name to, but it might be called fear of not being good enough, or fear of life, what's going to be next, fear of the unknown, self-centered fear. It's not about anything that's happening in reality. It's totally made up by our own selves. So we see the fear hiding, and we know it's a dark, dark corner, but yet our mind, in this elevated state that we culture by following our breath, by stilling extraneous thoughts that we don't need, and tapping the source of oneness that love is, we can beam like a spotlight, beam that consciousness, that love conception that we are, beam it in the corner. And what happens? The light dissipates the darkness, and what we thought was fear is nothing. It was a shadow that has now gone, dissipated with our own powers of perception. That's how remarkable it is when you develop this ability to tap the stillness of the mind. Everybody has this ability. Some people don't believe it. Some people are too lazy to still the mind, because we have taken 10 minutes, 11 minutes of quiet, except for me talking, focusing on the breath, listening to the rain, and choosing to go into a different level of human consciousness that I love. It's so delicious there. When I first started exploring this consciousness, I couldn't believe it. It was so wonderful to be there. And people I've taught how to tap this, especially young juvie prisoners that I wrote about in my first nonfiction book, In the Eye, they were delighted to realize that this secret garden of wonderfulness, of delightfulness, of interestingness, of comfort, of safety, of security is within them. And they've discovered it with the very first breath that they took, because they had never consciously taken time to focus on the breath. Miss Teza, I feel so wonderful. I see lights in my head, they said to me, every single one, when they learn to take a yogic breath. And I said, that's oxygen. It's amazing when you really learn to fill your lungs and let them release. Let's do this quietly now. I've spoken enough. Breathing in, let your belly get loose and fill your lungs. Let your ribs expand. Shoulders down. And breathe out. Push that belly, which is the diaphragm, pushing, pushing till there's no air left in your lungs through your nose. Breathing in fully, and a long breath in. And release. Let the belly push the air out so the lungs have a full capacity for the next breath in. Now breathe in through the nose. Belly gets loose, which releases the diaphragm, which expands the lungs. And release by pushing the belly in, which pushes up the diaphragm, which helps the lungs release. It takes practice, and I hope you will watch this video as often as you can and join me with the magical release of all problems when we tune into the breath and when we let our light shine, our inner light, that elevated consciousness that is our true nature. It's not some made-up stuff. That is who we truly are. This is what we had when we came into this earth plane as babies. That's why babies emit such joy. They are pure light, pure love. And you too have a child, an infant, a baby within you that you can cultivate, as well as being a terribly sophisticated and oh so successful and busy human being in today's world. You can have it all. We have those capacities. Breath is the bridge to the higher realms. Breath allows you to focus and shine your light. Shine your light. You can dissolve anything that's bothering you by choosing to follow the ray of light within yourself. I'm going to leave you now, my friends, until we do our mind-stilling ritual next week. And I want you to know I love you. I truly love you, because love is oneness, and we are all one. We are all connected. We are all connected energetically. We are all cells within the body of this consciousness that permeates the entire, not just world, cosmos. I know this because this is my experience. This is my life. This is the truth that I share with you. Om Namah Shivaya. I love you. Pressing my third eye and sending love to you.